Hello and welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm David Patton, and joining us now is Democratic pollster, author, and Fox News contributor Doug Schoen. Good to have you with us, Doug.
David, thank you for having me. Pleased to be here.
Let's get right to who the big winners and losers were in the GOP debate in New Hampshire Monday night.
Well, to me, the big winners were Mitt Romney, the establishment candidate who came through largely unscathed, and Michele Bachmann, who appeared for the time being to win the primary within the primary, to be the alternative, hopefully in her mind, Tea Party opponent to establishment candidate Mitt Romney.
You felt, Doug, that she was able to present herself on that presidential level successfully last night?
Well, I think Mitt Romney was most presidential. But in a climate of dissatisfaction where people are angry at the established order, that's a double-edged sword. And I think Michele Bachmann demonstrated that she has the energy, the enthusiasm, and arguably the message to take the fight directly to the former Massachusetts governor.
One of the most interesting things we saw in the debate was former Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty's kind of on-again, off-again attack against Mitt Romney for so-called Obamacare. What does it tell you that he seemed to first go after Romney on Sunday, but then backed way off last night?
It suggested to me that he may have been running for president on Sunday and decided Monday night that he was preserving his options to be a vice presidential candidate on a Romney ticket. Oh, no other way to explain it, because given the similarities between Romney Care and Obamacare, it's hard to understand why the self-described truth teller didn't continue to offer a consistent message.
How serious a blow may it have been to Pawlenty's campaign that he did fail to distinguish himself last night to seize that opportunity to take on Romney, considered the frontrunner?
Well, Tim Pawlenty had two very good weeks. He'd put out an aggressive, well-received statement on the debt, the deficit, and taxation only the week before. So to turn in a tepid performance last night certainly doesn't hurt, and certainly doesn't help, and may well hurt.
Polls do show that Romney is the front runner right now. He did focus like a laser beam on Monday night as far as economy and jobs go. Do you feel he lived up to expectations?
I think he did live up to expectations. He's the businessman in the race. He's offered a jobs plan. He spoke to that in the debate. That's all good news. The problem is he's got a number of positions on issues like climate change, abortion, and health care that, at least in the past, have been out of sync with Republican primary voters, and it remains to be seen whether he can avoid the kind of scrutiny that I think many expected him to get last night that just didn't happen.
Now, Doug, insurgent candidate, the conservative Herman Cain, really made a big impact on that first debate in South Carolina. I'm curious to know whether you feel that he followed up with equal success on Monday.
Well, I had thought that this was Herman Cain's opportunity to, bat 1,000 and go 2 for 2. And regrettably for him, I don't think he achieved that goal. I think Herman Cain may well have been a loser in the debate and lost at the expense of Michele Bachmann.
It was curious that Cain seemed to struggle at one point with a question about whether he might subject Muslim job applicants to his administration to a tougher standard to ensure their loyalty. And on that same question, former House Speaker Newt Gingrich seemed to sort of harken back to the Cold War, saying communists and Nazis had tried to infiltrate the U.S. government in the past. Is this a winning issue in any way in the GOP primary?
I'm not sure, because it's one thing to subject people to reasonable levels of scrutiny across the board. That's the American way. But to decide on the basis of religion or national origin that people deserved extra scrutiny, that's not quite American, and I think the candidates were struggling with how to get that right. I think it's still a work in progress.
And what about Gingrich? He had faltered so badly at the beginning of this campaign. Was he able to shore up his support with his performance last night, in your view?
Well, his support has dropped precipitously in the last month and a half as he's lost his staff and as he criticized the Ryan plan. I don't think he did himself any additional harm, but I'm not sure he turned around what is a increasingly dire situation.
Now, libertarian-leaning Republican Ron Paul delivered sort of a classic performance articulating small government conservative principles, but he also seems to be sort of hovering or stuck around that 10% level in the polls. What does he need to do going forward to break through, or is he pretty much already relegated to vanity candidate status in your view?
Well, he's always had 10%. He sort of had it last time, he's got it this time. It's a militant, activated 10%, but I'm hard-pressed to see how his pure libertarian message can in any way be broadened. Could happen, but I think increasingly unlikely.
And same question as far as Rick Santorum goes. Is he that vanity type of candidate, or do you see a scenario where he could emerge to the front and possibly win the GOP nomination for president?
Well, if for some reason abortion and gay marriage become the top issue to primary voting Republicans, maybe Rick Santorum can win. But in the absence of that, and I think with the economy in as bad shape as it is, that's unlikely as well. I don't see Rick Santorum doing anything more than being a candidate for a position in the next administration or perhaps an ambassadorship.
And Doug, thanks for joining us. I'm David Patton. Thank you for watching Newsmax TV.